Next, from Springfield, we first talked to Rob Carr of the Illinois Retail Merchants Association and then Michael Meany of the Chicagoland Apartment Association about their opposition to the City of Chicago's proposal for raising property taxes. This runs about 10 minutes.
Rob Carr, thanks for joining us again on the Illinois Channel. As you just heard, this proposal that would impact the taxation of property values in the City of Chicago, what is your objection to it?
Well, first, the City of Chicago and frankly Cook County already shifts a lot of the residential property tax burden to commercial industrial property. This only enhances that. It makes that shift worse. Under property tax, everyone pays. It's not as if you see a reduction of taxes paid. It's like a balloon. You squeeze one end of that balloon, the air goes to the other end. The same is true in property taxes. You reduce that residential burden, it shifts more to the commercial and industrial. And it's just something that we can't afford.
Have you run any numbers to take, like, if there is $1 million valued property, because they're going to be shifting it from the lower end homeowners to commercial properties, if I understand this properly. So have you run the numbers on, say, like $1 million commercial property to know what kind of a dollar impact it would have?
Yeah, great question. We have not yet, because not all of the components of the property tax are in. So we might know the city, but Chicago Public Schools not in, forest preserves aren't in. You've got other taxing districts that apply. Until you have all of those taxing districts levies in, you don't know how to run those numbers. But we do know that we're seeing assessment increases, that just the annual assessment increases of somewhere in the neighborhood of 30% in Cook County. It has been estimated that based on those assessment increases and this proposal, you could see property tax bills increase as much as 50% for commercial and industrial owners. I don't know anyone who can afford those kind of cost increases.
Have you had a chance to talk to some of your members and get their reactions to this proposal?
Their reaction is one of, oh my gosh, how am I going to deal with this, particularly as you get down into the smaller members. And while the city makes a great deal of talking about the thriving business district, the Loop, we're really worried about the commercial and industrial outside of the Loop, in the neighborhoods, the mom and pops who frankly do 80 to 85% of the hiring of a lot of employees in the city. Those folks really have no chance under these kind, particularly when you've had the city impose additional cost increases, such as the recent increase in the minimum wage, which added 24% to people's bottom line when it came to their labor costs. There's a reason when you drive up 55, Terry, and you get to the Cook County border, that all of those distribution centers and businesses are on the Will County side of Cook County, and they didn't build in Cook County. This is one.
And just last question, just to be clear, would this change impact everyone within Cook County or just in the confines of the City of Chicago?
Well, that's a great question. It's not really clear. The city keeps saying the city. The county says that's not possible. And this allows, the language of this bill allows local jurisdictions throughout the state to opt in, which means they're taking Chicago's terrible classification system and exporting it statewide. It's just a poor tax policy and one more black mark Illinois doesn't need.
All right, Rob Carr, thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Meany, thanks for joining us on the Illinois Channel. As you have heard the testimony, and you offered some testimony, have you heard this proposal as far as changing the taxation on property? Why are you opposed to this?
We're opposed to this wholly due to the shift that will occur in the burden on property taxes from homeowners to renters in the city of Chicago. We represent apartment owners and managers, and by extension, the renters in the city that comprise a majority of the city residents, 55% according to the U.S. Census.
You know, some people may not understand just how basic economics work. They might say, I'm not going to pay property taxes, I don't own property, I'm a renter. Just walk us through I know it's a basic question, but just walk us through that, because some people, I think that way.
Exactly, and that's one of the hurdles that we faced when the mayor first announced the property tax increase, and right away jumped to provide relief for homeowners with this expanded exemption. We pointed out right away that you were leaving the vast majority of residents in the city of Chicago out. Apartment dwellers, apartment renters do indeed pay property taxes. They simply don't write a check to the treasurer. They pay it through their annual and their monthly rents. And by our calculations, about 12% of a person's rent each month is dedicated to the property tax bill that an owner has to pay. So an owner factors that in. It's one of the costs that is factored into the rent level when a property owner sets the rent level.
Do you know the question I asked Rob Carr? Would this apply to all people in Cook County or just within the confines of the city of Chicago?
Well, as Rob mentioned, it's unclear. We know that the intention here, or what we heard today in testimony, is that this would affect only the city of Chicago's portion of a tax bill, which of course would only be paid by City of Chicago residents. So we have, this bill was introduced late yesterday afternoon, so we've not had a chance to fully analyze exactly what it means or how it will be implemented. And again, as we heard from testimony today, we know that there is some concern among the county elected officials who actually administer the property tax system about how they would actually do it. It seems very complicated.
And last question, what are your thoughts as somebody who's paid to follow this policy, to represent a group? Just the way the system works, that here we have a bill that could have a major impact on millions of people. The bill is introduced late yesterday afternoon into a session of the legislature that ordinarily wouldn't even be meeting. And individuals such as yourself and the Retail Merchants Association don't really have a time to analyze it or even run the numbers. I guess the question is this any way to run a democracy?
Well, I've been around for a while, so I kind of understand how the system works. But yes, it's a bit frustrating. We've been hearing for several weeks that the mayor was interested in doing an expanded exemption, and we've all been trying to figure out exactly how that would work. But again, without seeing the details, it's very difficult to understand the true impact that it might have, especially on our members. So frustrating, but at the same time, we are. We just need to stand up for our members and make sure that the city understands the impact that it might have on apartment owners and managers, and again, renters. Because like we said, there really, in the beginning especially, there was really little discussion about how it would affect them. A rush to provide relief for homeowners, again, at the expense of other classes of taxpayers, commercial taxpayers, as well as those that run apartment buildings.
If I can squeeze in just one brief one. You can't tell when you go downtown Chicago because some people own a condo and other people are renting. Do you have any numbers on approximately what percentage of the city rent versus own?
Well, again, 55% of households in the city of Chicago, according to the U.S. Census, are renter households. So that gives us a pretty good idea. It is a majority for sure, and the condo market has been struggling over the last 5 years. The apartment building industry has been relatively strong. However, it's policies like this that we're concerned are going to put a damper on that, and in the long run, it's going to reduce the stock of housing, not only in the Class A buildings and the beautiful buildings downtown, the expensive buildings, but also in neighborhoods where lower income people live, and so that's a concern in the long run that stock will dwindle.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.